And over the past couple of weeks, I've actually been working on building this cabinet underneath my table saw. Now, this thing serves quite a few different purposes, storing all sorts of accessories for my table saw. Now, I've had this kind of pegboard thing up here, and if you saw my shop tour video quite a while back, now my shop has changed dramatically since then, but I spoke about this pegboard thing, and I really don't like the pegboard. I love having this rack up here, but that's going to change very, very soon. And I'm trying to figure out what accessories I want within reach right here, and what accessories I want accessible, but down here. So I built this cabinet with that in mind. Now, I'm constantly changing blades on a table saw, which you should be able to do, but you need a place to store them. And I don't want to have to walk all the way across the room to be able to do that. So what I did on the top here, I actually have blade storage. And kind of the first blade set here is actually a dado stack. So I'll talk about these in just a minute. So I've got blade storage for different types of blades right here. And below that, I've actually got all my different inserts for all the blade storage and stuff like that. And then over on this side, I've got more storage for other accessories and stuff, and I'm still trying to figure out exactly what I'm going to lay out there. Up at the top here, I've actually got a couple of dado slots cut into the top of the cabinet, and my crosscut sled fits right into this. So let me show you some more features of this cabinet, and kind of the reason I built it in the way that I built it. So I'm going to talk about these trays a little bit. This is probably one of the main things I want to talk about here. Just because I think these are kind of cool how they came out. Having these accessible at the table saw was kind of my key feature of this. But I've got them kind of staggered here, and I'm probably going to end up painting these the lettering in here just so it's easier to see. But they're actually pretty easy to see on here. I know the camera is kind of bleeding out the text, but the text is actually visually easy to see. But I've got dado for a dado stack, CC for a crosscut, rip for ripping blades, and GP for general purpose blades. And let me show you my dado stack here. I've got it set up here, and these all go in just by a dado just in the sides here, and they slide in quite nice. As you can see, they just slide right in. So like my dado stack, I've got the whole dado stack for this the Freud set here, and they all fit in here complete. And the way that I made these all on my CNC. I've got a ShopBot CNC that I set this up on. And on the bottom here, I've got a nice lip. Let me show you on the ripping blade one here. I've got a nice lip that I can actually catch these on. And I did that by flipping and cutting using my ShopBot. I can set it up, cut it, and then flip it, and then cut all the rest of the stuff. So on this dado stack here, I've got the finger hole cut a little extra deep so I can actually reach in and grab the blades really easily. And then I've got this cut to where the blade will actually settle in and it's sitting lower than the actual panel itself. And then I've got this cut even deeper, so when I do set this in, the actual cutting surface of the blades aren't touching anything. So it's actually spinning freely and sitting just on this surface here. And I did that just to kind of protect the cutting edges. I know they would be sitting on wood anyway, and that would probably not be any big deal or whatsoever. But I did that also with the chippers to where they're actually sitting just on the surface right here. And then right here I've got two little finger holes on the side so I can actually grab the spacers there. So I had to do this with some nicer plywood. Because if I had a bunch of voids in the middle of the plywood, that would actually mess up all of this. And you could do this with like a Baltic birch or something like that, but Baltic birch is actually kind of hard to come by in my area. My town doesn't have a supplier for Baltic birch. So a few years ago, I had come across a local builder supply, just a mom and pop's builder supply that has this. This is an imported plywood. I know a lot of imported plywoods get a really bad rep, but this stuff is actually called Tiger Ply. And it's an imported plywood, and I know a lot of imported plywoods get a really bad rep for this stuff, but I kind of wanted to talk about it because this stuff has no voids. For an imported plywood, this stuff is awesome. I mean, you can look at this stuff. It has no voids whatsoever. No matter where I've cut into it, there are no voids. I mean, every tray that I've made and every dado that I've cut, you can see I cut 14 slots here, all the way around for all those, and everything that I've made here has dados. All the pieces that I made has dados for all this. Has no voids. It's really pretty awesome stuff. So let me go ahead and show you the rest of the cabinet here. About the drawers that I have in here, this side over here will probably coincide with the actual saw blade storage. This top drawer here, I've got just what I need to change out the saw blades. So I've got some tools to actually change out my saw blades and some insert plates. These insert plates, I made this drawer to where the insert plates would actually clear when I close the drawer, and I could set these things up vertically. So I'll probably make some sort of storage for them to actually fit in here vertically. And then I'll probably have these set in here, something like that. And I haven't made that insert yet. Now, all my drawer slides are soft close. Now, I like the soft close drawer slides because, first off, they close softly. But the main reason is because they actually fully close forcefully. And they do that by having a spring mechanism in there that charges when you pull it open, and then when you push it closed, it actually catches right about there and actually pulls the drawer closed. So I like that because it actually ends up closing the whole drawer completely all the way. So it always ends up closing the drawer all the way for you. So that's why I like the soft close drawer slides. So this top drawer over here, and the bottom drawer down there, I don't know exactly what I'm putting in there, so right now it's empty. This top drawer over here, I've got some measuring tools and some squares and things like that. I'm still laying it out exactly how I want to place them because I'm probably going to use the fast cap foam and end up putting these tools into that so they actually have a place so I can always put them away and know where they go. And once I figure out exactly where I'm going to place them, I'll end up putting in the foam and actually cutting them in and placing them into place. This next drawer, I've got some micro jig accessories and one featherboard right now, but I've got a handful of featherboards, and I don't know exactly where they're at. I had them strewn about all over the shop, and I would always throw them off to the side, but I never really exactly had a place for them. And that's part of the reason why I'm making this cabinet, is because I've never really had a place to put things away for the table saw. So that's the main reason for this actual cabinet. So now that I've got the cabinet, I'm going to have to actually find all my accessories to bring in here and actually have a place to put it. So this one here, I'm going to actually have a couple miter gauges. And down here, I've got my Incra eye box right now. Up here at the top, I've cut a couple dado slots, and this is where my crosscut sled will stay. I actually purposely made the cabinet a little short. This way my crosscut sled would actually fit underneath my table saw here. And I made this crosscut sled kind of on Nick Ferry's design, and I made quite a few different changes to it, but I'll do that in another video. I'll show you how I actually made this crosscut sled and the changes I made in comparison to Nick Ferry's design and why I did that. So definitely watch for that video sometime in the near future. And speaking of Nick Ferry, you may notice these handles here. This is actually kind of Nick Ferry's idea as well. He's made some cabinets in his shop, and these actual drawer pulls are kind of his idea. And thanks, Nick, for the idea, because I really like those, and they're super cheap to make and actually pretty easy to make. So I like that idea, and they worked out really great. Oh, and I'll jump down to this level real quick. One little feature I thought was kind of cool on the Tiger Ply plywood. On the side of the actual Tiger Ply, this is Tiger Ply Edge plywood that I've been using. And on the side of it, it actually says Tiger Ply Edge Premium Birch. And since I knew I was going to talk about this stuff, because I was using it, and I was just like, you know what, I know this imported plywood gets a kind of a bad rep. I need to talk about this stuff, and just since I've been very happy with it, I wanted to kind of mention this stuff. So I figured I'll just make this kind of a feature. So I ended up actually leaving the actual stamped text right here in the middle here. So that's going to be forever kind of a little fixture in my shop. So Tiger Ply Edge is now right there on my shop. But yeah, that's that.